Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm about to go out fishing, so this is going to be a short one here, a couple minutes maybe. If you've ever put new line on a spinning reel, you always hear people say, especially with mono here, like what I have here, that it has tons of memory, which is true. I can't lie and say that it doesn't. But there is a way to fix that, and one way that I do it is I take the line. Now this has been sitting in here not quite 15 minutes. I put it in for 15 minutes. It's just warm tap water. Put it on hot, let it get hot in your hand till it starts to burn your hand. Fill the cup up, drop the spool in there. Set it in there for 15 minutes. This is one of my Cast King spools. And what it does is it takes the memory off of this size spool. Because what happens is the reason it has memory is not so much that it's a bad memory. It's a memory for a bigger spool. And that's the problem. See, if you compare sizes, the spool size versus the line spool, you're talking about double the size. So when you have this much memory for this size of spool, it just falls off the spool. And that's where you start running into your problems. Excuse me for the cough. So what I do is I put it in for 15 minutes. It gets the line, it warms the line up to the point where it gets used to that size of the spool. It kind of, bonds it up there. Instead of being this size, it's now conformed to this size. And it works out really well. If you've never done it, give it a shot, especially any size monos, heavier mono. If you're using 40-pound test, maybe go with a little warmer water. Set it in there for 15 minutes. That's what I do, or set it longer. I've forgotten them and left it in there. It ain't done anything bad. The bearings don't go bad in my drive washers. I haven't had an issue yet, and it hasn't affected my drag. I meant to say drag washers, not dry washers. And I haven't had any issues. I've been doing this for probably 15, 20 years. I've been doing this with mono, especially a heavier mono. 10-pound and up, 6-pound even. If you have a bigger spool, most of them come with that really wide single-use spool, and that's where it really runs into an issue. And like I said, it will really do the job. I'm going to cut out here because I am going to go fishing. I got to rig up. This is going to be one of the reels I'm using today, this Cast King Summer. But yeah, if you're looking to get some of that memory on, give it a shot. I mean, all you got to do is try it. If you've ever set your rod in the back of the car and left it during a hot summer day, you know how the memory will do. Just take the spool off, drop it in a cup of water. It will take that memory out, and it will cast a million times better. You don't have to take my word for it. Give it a shot, and it will do. Works with any type of mono. This here's the Suffolk Supreme I'm using on this. I've done it with Yo-Zuri Hybrid. I've done it with straight fluorocarbon, P-line, Stren. It doesn't matter. Especially the monofilaments in a higher gauge. The lower gauges, like I said, you seem to get away from it when you're starting to, stretch the line a little bit. Andy's real bad at that. If you've ever used Andy, I really suggest this with Andy. Andy off the spool is tough. I mean, it's a good line. Don't get me wrong. I used Andy for 20 years out in the ocean, Pink Andy, in the 8 to 10 pound range. It works perfect, but it does have a lot of memory. That line does have a lot of memory. But this took care of that problem. That's when I started doing it, is using Andy. And it really did fix up a lot of my problems I had with the spools, the way it came off the spool on Andy. So it'll work out. Give it a shot, especially on the bigger size spools, even the smaller spools. If you're looking to get it to conform to this size spool or any size spool, it'll work. Now for bait casters, I haven't tried it with a bait caster. I'm sure it would work for a bait caster. You just don't run into that issue as much on a bait caster. You can try it. If you have a line that's really loose on a spool, I had that with some Charlie Big Game. I did do it with that. It was 15-pound Big Game, and I was having an issue where it wasn't like tight on the spool. I put it in a cup, let it sit in there for 15, 20 minutes, and it seemed to have taken the issue away. That was the only time on a bait caster I've ever had that issue. Normally this line comes off fine, it goes on fine, and I really don't have that issue. But spinning gear, definitely a trick to do. So give it a shot. Tell me what you think. It's a good way to get mileage out of your line and to not have those headaches where you're jerking a bait along and all of a sudden you have this knot in your line and you're fighting with to get it out and it's taking off more coils. It really does eliminate most of that. So give it a shot. Let me know what you think. It's like I said, it's a really easy trick to do. You can see it sitting in there in the water. Doesn't take all that much. Just get it above the rim so the whole spool's underwater and you're good to go. See you out on the water.